Hello everyone, welcome to TCOM 408 Online. Dr. Mike here. You're watching video 17. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In this video, we'll continue to talk about the issue of content ratings. Content ratings are a great example of socially responsible behavior. In the last video, we talked about content ratings in Hollywood, in the film industry. Well, what about other forms of content? For example, content ratings and the music industry. Now, the content rating in the music industry is very, very simple. There's only one label, one rating. It's called parental advisory. This is the message affixed by the Recording Industry Association of America to any audio recordings in the U.S. that contain offensive language and or offensive content, the parental advisory label. Now, albums began to be labeled for explicit lyrics back in 1985. This is after pressure from a group of parents which called themselves the Parents Music Resource Center. And these parents went to Congress and raised the issue of strong language in music. As a result, the recording industry came up with a rating system. Okay, in 1990, this parents group worked with the Recording Industry Association of America to standardize the label, and it created the now familiar black and white design, parental advisory, explicit lyrics. Now, most stores have settled on an age limit of 17 in order to buy an album containing the explicit lyrics label. Now, as an alternative, some artists create clean versions of their music to be sold at Walmart or to be played on AM and FM radio stations. It's fairly common for an album which received the parental advisory seal to be sold alongside an edited version which removes the objectionable content, censored, sanitized for your protection. What about the online world of music and film and video? What kind of ratings or parental controls will we find in the online world? Well, parental controls are being used for music, for internet radio, for streaming, for video sites, for online gaming. For example, Pandora has an explicit filter. Users can restrict Pandora from playing songs with explicit language. Enabling this filter will limit Pandora's ability to play music and limit it to music that could be played on daytime broadcast radio. Netflix has a number of parental controls. Users can control access to certain maturity levels of Netflix content. Netflix parental controls have 4 maturity levels. Little kids, these are movies and TV shows suitable for all ages. Older kids, these are movies and TV shows suitable for older children. Teens, movies, TV shows suitable for teens. And adults, those shows that include mature content. And what about the television world? The television world has also adopted ratings. This came as a result of the TCOM Act of 1996. Now, when that law was passed, all the new TV sets were required to be equipped with something called the V-chip, a violence chip, a values chip, a computer chip that would allow parents to block programs based on some sort of rating scheme. So the TV ratings got a big push from the TCOM Act of 1996. So the V-chip was this technology that would read information encoded in the rated program and then block the program from the set based upon the rating and the rating selected by the parents. So the V-chip. So in order for the V-chip to work, there had to be some kind of rating. So the TCOM Act of 1996 encouraged the broadcasting industry to come up with voluntary ratings. And so we now have these TV parental guidelines. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these categories. TVY, TVY7, TVG, TVPG, TV14, TVMA. Not only are there ratings in the world of television, but there's also something called content descriptors. These indicate why the program has been rated in a certain way. D stands for suggestive dialogue. L, strong language. S, sexual situations. V, violence. FV, fantasy violence. So content descriptors. Now, the TV broadcasters are not required to carry this content descriptors, but I believe the ones practicing social responsibility are very willing to include these descriptors. There are certain display requirements for the ratings. The first 15 seconds of every rated program lasting a half hour or less, this rating icon appears in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. For every rated program running an hour or longer, the rating appears at the beginning of each half hour. Those are the requirements. Now, some broadcasters will go even further and include, for example, the rating after every commercial break. Some networks display the ratings after every break, although they're not required to. Generally, all the rating icons appear in the 4x3 safe area of the television sets, and Helvetica is the default typeface for the TV rating icons. All right, now, in 2016, a consumer group, the Parents Television Council, argued that the TV content rating system had failed children. A study conducted by this Parents Television Council claimed the system, meant to protect young viewers from seeing inappropriate content, actually deceived parents. Here's what the group said. Parents who rely on the TV content rating systems to make informed decisions about what to watch on TV have been deceived, as our research shows that the rating system has systematically failed to provide accurate and consistent information for its entire 20-year existence. So criticisms about the accuracy and the consistency of the ratings in TV. Hang in there, we've got a few more ratings schemes to talk about here. What about the world of video games? That industry has developed a very elaborate rating system. Okay, the group behind it is the Entertainment Software Rating Board, the ESRB. This group was founded back in 1994 to help the video game industry. Now, the ratings categories for the video game industry suggest age appropriateness and include a lot of content descriptors to indicate content that may have triggered a particular rating or may be of interest or concern. So a lot of content descriptors. And one thing I like about the video game ratings is that they recognize the interactive elements, okay, and inform the consumer about the interactive aspects of a product that may bring up some concerns. So here are the video game ratings. EC for early childhood, E for everyone, E10 plus, T for teen, M for mature, and AO for adults only video game. Now, the video game industry has developed a ton of specific content descriptors that they place on the video games to inform the parents and the users about the specific sorts of content. And so there's a broad range of descriptors used here by the video game industry. Again, I think the video game industry is showing social responsibility by focusing in on the interactive elements of video games to warn parents that The games may allow the kids to share information. Personal information can be shared with third parties. Parents should know whether or not a video game shares location, whether or not it includes the ability to display the user's location to other users. Parents should know whether video games allow the opportunity for children to interact with others, possible exposure to unfiltered, uncensored user-generated content. So the interactive elements of video games, at least parents are advised about various aspects of interactivity. What about the comic book industry, ratings and the comic book industry? You know, back in the 1950s, the comics were kind of the scapegoat for the rise of juvenile delinquency and crime in society. And so the Comics Code Authority, the CCA, was created back in the 50s to regulate the content of comic books in the United States. And so comics that were sold in this country had to have this seal, this code that said they were approved by the Comics Code Authority. Okay, a lot of concern about crime and the depiction of crime and the glorification of crime in the comic books. Now, in 2001, Marvel Comics withdrew from the Comics Code Authority and went out on its own and established its very own rating system for its publications, Marvel Comics. So Marvel developed its own ratings scheme that was more elaborate than the previous code. So here's its categories: all ages, teens and up, parental advisory, and max for explicit, highly explicit content. Now, back in 2000, the Federal Trade Commission did a report on the marketing of violent entertainment content to children, a very critical report. And this study found that companies in the media world, film, music, video game industries, routinely target kids under 17. Okay, even though they do label, they target mature content to children under 17. And the retailers sometimes make very little effort to restrict access to violent content. So this government agency, the Federal Trade Commission, made several recommendations. Okay, for example, it called upon the industry to establish or expand codes that prohibit target marketing to children and to impose actual sanctions for violations. It called on increased compliance at the retail level in terms of ratings and increased parental understanding of the rating systems and the different labels. Now, what are the pros and cons of having a rating system? I personally support the rating system as a good faith effort to show social responsibility. Okay? And people like me who support the rating system say it's a good thing. It's an effective way to help the public make appropriate choices, decisions about content. And rating systems don't violate the First Amendment. They're just a form of product labeling. But there are critics who say the rating system are unfair. They're not applied evenly, that the rating system in the U.S. is usually stricter for sexual content than violent content, that the ratings are often arbitrary and the standards aren't evenly applied, that the ratings process and the standards are kind of hidden. They should be more transparent, made more open to the public, and that too many rating systems exist. There's too many schemes, and they create too much complication for too many parents. Critics say it's easy for kids to circumvent the ratings, that ratings are not enforced by enough distributors and retailers, that the industry often violates its own standards by deliberately target marketing restricted content to children, and that advisories and ratings often have a kind of a reverse effect to what was intended. They make the content more desirable to children if it's got a mature rating on it. Rating systems, the critics say, may violate the basic tenets of the First Amendment and the marketplace of ideas concept, the Miltonian ideal. And other critics say that the rating system is just a smokescreen to protect the producers who want to continue to make immoral content and now have a way to do that. Some critics of self-regulation even say that devices such as rating systems and codes of ethics are really little more than self-serving vehicles to help the media avoid public and official scrutiny. Maybe you remember U.S. Senator John McCain, who ran for president against Obama back in 2008. Okay, he once said in a book that the ratings were nothing but a smokescreen. Okay, consider this argument. He said that rating systems were just a smokescreen, a cover, so that people in the industry could continue to provide immoral, unconscionable content and business practices. Do you agree with this assertion that the rating system provide a cover, a smokescreen for creating unethical content? I personally think content ratings are a great example of Aristotle's golden mean. Finding the middle ground is sometimes the best, the most ethical, appropriate way to handle a situation. So here we're trying to balance freedom of expression, artistic license, with the need to protect children. And I think ratings provides the answer for both concerns and obligations. Rating schemes, a reasonable compromise? I think so. An aid to parents? Only if they use the ratings. A violation of freedom of expression? Not in my mind, not a serious violation. A smokescreen to cover excessive content? You'll have to come to your own decision about that concern. So that's a look at all the various rating systems we've come up with in our country to balance these competing obligations. How do we protect children and at the same time protect the First Amendment and freedom of expression? The only way we can really do this, I believe, in our society is by having content ratings. Now, that's all I've got for this lecture. I hope that you continue to take care of yourself during some very troubling times. Please take care, and we'll see you again soon. So long.